Okay, do you guys believe that you get power from Jesus?
Yes.
You believe that, when you face the worst thing in your week, the worst thing in your year, and you can't get power somewhere else. Can you get power from Jesus?
Oh yeah.
You can. I mean, like John experienced in that church, we experience it here. Individually, as a church, I hear about it all the time that people face things that are way bigger than they can handle. We don't go somewhere else for our power. We don't lean on something else for our power. It comes from Him. And so I am so excited about today's message that really is going to give you like an infrastructure to build that on. You don't just say, okay, Matt, that's good to say, or that's good to kind of hope for. No, it's the truth. That there is a structure we stand on in who God is, and we get our power from Jesus. Now, before we get into today's message, I want to introduce you to some people in our church. And first of all, I want to welcome Facebook Live. If you're watching on Facebook Live, and particularly, I want to say hey to Kim Thorpe. She's up in the hospital. And Kim, I hope you're watching now, because if you guys would agree with me that we're going to pray for Kim and what she's going through with her back and her intestines, all the stuff she's got going on, we're going to pray for this lady, Kim, when we close the service today. So Kim, hello. And if you're watching on Facebook Live, come and join us in person soon. But today I want you to meet a mom and two kids that are pretty new to our church. Actually, I'm going to bring them up right now. So Sharon Cherry and her kids Carson and Chloe, if you guys would welcome them as they come up on stage. All right, you guys come up right here. Now, Sharon and Carson and Chloe have been coming since around Easter, something like that. Thank you guys for coming up and spending a minute with us to start this time. Now, why don't you guys step over here a little bit? Got some cute kids. Cute kids. Love these kids. Now, Sharon, first of all, thank you for bringing your kids up here and sharing with us. So I'd like to talk about how you guys heard about Vision and started coming to Vision and kind of what was going on in your life at that time.
Well, we saw the signs in town, so the signs work. And we were at, I believe it was at Walmart Marketplace, and we were given a bottle of water. And what you guys didn't know, that day I was about to break. Today actually marks the fourth year of me being a single mom. It was kind of interesting how the dates coincided today.
Yeah.
But April was pretty rough. The kids are pretty open with this. My ex-husband was an alcoholic, and we've pretty much lost everything that you could possibly lose financially, materialistically, but we've started over, and we're doing great, and that's with God's help. And in April, we had started looking for a new church. My dad's a pastor in Mount Holly, and he's going to be retiring pretty soon, and we felt like for the children it would be good that we go ahead and move on to another church before that took place. And I was tired. I'm a school administrator in CMS, and that's stressful enough. Seems that I can help 1,000 kids every day, but my own 2 kids I can't help. And I was feeling pretty sorry for myself back in April. And we pulled into the grocery store. I'm like, let's go do it again. And I honestly don't even remember who it was, but gave us the bottle of water. And I came home, and I immediately knew that I had to share with you guys, even if we didn't come here, what you are doing is a great thing, and that it helps people to know that there is somebody out there. So that's where we were at.
Wow. It was something. That was actually the test day that we did Project Refreshment. We only had, I think, 4 sites we went to. And when I came home from the site I was on, actually on the way home, I checked my phone and I saw an email that came through our website from Sharon. And I couldn't believe that as I read this and heard about the challenges she was going through and really wanting to hear from God, and like she had just heard from Him through our church, just trying something small. And then, of course, that led to, we had Project Refreshment fully, I think in June. And then, of course, we're going Project Refreshment 2.0 next week. So I also want to hear, like, what's God been doing in your family since you guys have been here?
I think we have a much more positive outlook on life. Carson's really struggled a lot with not having a dad, and the Father's Day message really touched him. And it let him know that he was not alone, and that no matter what took place in his life, that he had somebody other than Mom. He's got God. And that's been a very life-changing event. And this past week, he accepted Christ into his heart.
And that happened, one night at home this week?
At home this week.
And when I got up, I think it was Tuesday night?
Tuesday
night. So I remember Wednesday night I got up, checked my email first thing, and I had an email from you at like 11 o'clock the night before. And what'd you say in that email?
He had came in my room. He had We hadn't been getting along too good the last couple of days. And he came in my room, and he didn't come in my room, and he stood. He's like, I need to talk to you. I'm like, well, come in. He's like, no, come out here. So I came out there. And he told me that he just did not know if he was going to go to heaven. He had made a profession when he was about 6, and that he felt like he was too young, but he understood things now. And we prayed, and he asked God into his heart. And the first thing he said was for me to let Pastor Matt know. So I let Pastor Matt know.
I love that. Now, I have to admit, I had noticed recently on Facebook you posting with them knowing like some verses and stuff. So I had sent Sharon the verses that we have built Project Refreshment on. And they're going to be able to do it? Okay, so Chloe, have you got one of them for us? Okay, go ahead.
A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. Proverbs 11:25.
Woo. Yes. Okay. And Carson, you got the other one? Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Hold that real close.
If anyone gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones who is my disciple, truly I tell you that person will certainly not lose their reward. Matthew 10:42.
Wow. Well, Sharon, we're so blessed to have you guys here at Vision.
You.
I mean that. And I believe there's so many great things ahead for your family. And hey, let's give them a hand again for come on stage, Sharon and Marie Versus. All right, thanks, guys. So, guys, we got this Project Refreshment 2.0 coming up. And it was interesting when we had talked about having them come up on stage and share. I knew it would be the last Sunday before Project Refreshment. I thought, man, we're going to still need a bunch of help because we need about 20, 25 teams to do this. Well, last Sunday, you guys left the service and went out there, and we had 18 teams sign up on the first Sunday. So literally, we don't need a ton of help, but honestly, we'll take as many that want to help. And like John had talked about, it's as simple as you either come in this Thursday night and put labels on these bottles, or you come in next Saturday and you go around town and we give you a specific spot and you just pass them out. And look what can happen. It can happen. God will work through you just literally giving a cup of cold water in his name. So if you want more information on that, stop by the tent or the Connection Center. That's this week, Thursday night and Saturday, if you want to be a part of Project Refreshment. Now let's pick up in this series called The Journey. And I love this series, first of all, this concept of journey. Because if you know, in life, it's up and down. It takes all these different bends. And within this series that I just am really enjoying so much, this one today is one of my favorites because it talks about creation. And I just think, man, creation is just like this big old canvas that God paints every day to just say, this is who I am. I am awesome. I'm incredible. Make sure you notice me. I'm here for you. I mean, all these things about God. And so today I get to teach you about God and creation. And if you're new here, I want you to understand this is kind of like taking some chairs and sitting around a campfire. And if I had a chance to sit with you and you're getting ready to go away in a couple weeks or a couple months, and I'm saying, look, there are some vitals. There's some essentials that I really want you to take. That after walking with God for 25 years, here's to me what stands out. I don't have it all figured out, but to me, these things really, really matter. That when you get on your journey and you're going to go through ups, and when you go through downs, please remember these things. If you guys remember the first week, remember, we talked about purpose. We said, your purpose in life is to know God in a personal way and to live out his vision for your life. That he has got a vision for you and you and you, not like just a big corporate vision for like all of his followers, but a vision for you. He's got that. Make sure you never forget that. Second week, we talked about your heart. And it said in his word that above all else, guard your heart. And I added on to that because whatever controls your heart controls you. And I know you're gonna agree with that if you really think that sometimes money catches your eye, or sometimes that person you're not married to, or that temptation, it catches your eye and you're like, it has a chance to grab my heart. No, I'm going to guard my heart. Because what controls my heart controls me. That was our week 2. Now today, as we dig into creation and talk about God as our creator, catch this bottom line for today. It says God's the creator. He's big enough to create everything, and that he's close enough to know me personally. He is big enough to create everything in creation, and yet he is close enough to know you personally. He doesn't just look down and say, 4 billion people, I love them all. He looks down and says, man, I love him. I love her. He loves me. He's not too big. He is so big, and yet he's also personal enough to know us one-on-one. So we're going to dig into this today, and I really think that what we talk about today is going to come up at some point in your life when you face something that is so big or scary or unknown or stressful, and you say, I can't get past this. I'm not big enough. I don't have what it takes. And God will say, I am big enough. I have what it takes. Don't forget that as your creator, I'm big enough, and as your God, I'm close enough. So let's dig into this. Of course, the natural place to start is in Genesis. This book in the Bible that we open up, and we see from the start a choice that we have to make either to agree or disagree with the first verse of the Bible. Now, I'm not going to be here today to try to argue you into something. I'm really going to be here today to tell you what I found and what I've seen and what I believe. And in that, it's up to you. You choose to see what you believe, whether you're going to side, honestly, with God and creation or not God and evolution. Or you're going to side with God being so big and also he can be so close. And it's going to be for you to choose whether to internalize that. So let's start in Genesis 1. It says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And you're like, yeah, man, I've heard that a bunch. No, you don't understand. This is a major fork in the road that some people would say, nah, actually, I don't believe that. I don't believe in a God being, entity, person, and I certainly don't believe that he created it all. This just all happened. We're just kind of random. It's by chance. It's life. No, this is a foundational choice that in the next 20, 30 minutes, I want you to figure out for yourself whether you agree with Genesis 1:1. Now it continues, verse 11, then God said, let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants, trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their various kinds, and it was so. Now, there's a lot of things I like in Genesis. This one, God made broccoli. Okay? Does anybody here like broccoli? I mean, like you would choose broccoli? Wow. Celery. Okay, celery. Celery? Wow. Okay, it's like God created broccoli and celery. And a lot of good stuff too, but I'm like, broccoli. Anytime we make broccoli at our house, if someone walks in that hadn't been home yet, they're like, oh, broccoli. Oh, man. And I'm like, and I tell my wife Meg, when she's the one who walks in and smells it, I'm like, you bought it. I mean, I'm just making it. God made it, you bought it, I made it, and everybody gets gas or something. So I don't know. But that's broccoli. Okay. Continues down to verse 21. I love this imagery. God created the great creatures of the sea and every living thing with which the water teems and that moves about in it, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. He was proud of what he made. God blessed them and said, be fruitful and increase in number and fill the water in the seas. Let the birds increase on the earth. There was evening and morning the fifth day, and God said, let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds. And if you know the Vanderbilts, we like living creatures. Okay, we got a bunch, right? You guys got a bunch, we got a bunch. We like living creatures. They add some spice to life. They really do. Says, the creatures that move along the ground, the wild animals, each according to its kind, and it was so. God made the wild animals according to their kinds, the livestock according to their kinds, and all the creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds. And God said, oh, man, I'm pretty good at this. God said, man, I made some good stuff. And he was like, angels, everybody, look at this. Look at what has happened on this planet with these animals, with such a wide variety and creativity and diversity and beauty. God said, man, this is good. Oh, man. And then verse 27, he tops it off. God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. Don't miss it. That even though he said, hey, all this stuff is good and the planet's good and the animals are good, he said, there's actually something even to another level. He said, because I didn't make the animals in my image. I didn't make the trees in my image. He said, I made the people in my image. And if you ever get in a spot in your life where you look in the mirror and say, man, you stink. Honestly, you're worthless. You're an accident or you're an error or a mistake. And God says, I do not agree with that. God says, I made you in my image, and that is very, very good. And I love that God, he doesn't, honestly, he doesn't let dogs pray. He doesn't, let cats like have a connection with God, with a relationship. People, we are the only ones, the only thing he created that can have a true relationship with the Creator. You go down to verse 31. It said, God saw all he made. It was very good. There was evening and morning, the 6th day. So he's looking at people saying it's good. The stuff is good. The plants are good. The animals are good. This has been amazing. Then in Genesis 2, it says, the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. Now, real serious here. Has anybody ever been involved in a situation where somebody needed CPR? CPR or even rescue breathing? I have, and I tell you, it is intense. You see it on TV, and they're like, you're like, come on, this. When you either are doing it or see someone pounding on someone's chest, breathing into them, and you're like hoping, like, God, give them the breath of life again. Please give them the breath of life. In this moment with Adam, like for the first time ever, the breath of life was breathed into a person. When a baby comes out of their mama, and it's like, boom, it happens, and they take their first breath, we have not found a way to manufacture that. As people, we cannot do that. And you certainly, if you've been there on someone's deathbed, you know what it's like when the breath of life is taken away. God alone gives the breath of life. And I even love the end of that verse about becoming a living being. I think part of what we read out of this is, I don't want to just be like a physically living being, but I want to be spiritually alive. This man, Adam, had relationship with his Creator. He was alive now, and I want to be alive, and I want that for you. Now, this week I had a little adventure, okay? I was up here, Sunday night. We had an incredible volunteer event. If you guys weren't here, we had 115 people in here on Sunday night for our volunteer training, vision casting. It was phenomenal. We're wrapping it up, and I'm talking to some people about what's coming up this next Sunday. I said, I'll be talking about creation. And they're like, oh, yeah, so-and-so had just gone up to the Cincinnati area, and they saw the ark, this like huge life-size ark. They said there's also the Creation Museum. I was like, oh, man, that'd be interesting to see. And he was like, well, I could, get you a free ticket to fly. I do have to admit. He said, you fly, it's a buddy pass. He said, but for some people, they call it used to be your buddy pass. And I was like, what does that mean? I found out on Thursday what that meant. I'll get there in a minute. Okay, so he gets me this buddy pass, and I fly up Thursday morning to Cincinnati. And I go up to the Creation Museum, have this incredible experience. I'll show you the pictures. And I get back to the airport, and buddy pass means you're flying standby. So I get up there, and I'm like, hey, how we looking? And the lady's like, you're 12th. I'm like, how many seats you got open? She's like, we got 4. I'm like, okay, not hitting this one. So they, but she's like, hang on, you never know, people might cancel. Well, they didn't. And I go up to her after the flight. I'm like, okay, how is it looking for the next flight? She said, it's not looking good for today. I was like, what do you mean for today? She said, the next 3 flights, they're all full. So what can we do? And she's trying some stuff. I call my friend. He's looking on the computer. He said, we could fly you through D.C. or Chicago or Dallas, but I can't guarantee you won't get stuck there. And I'm like, I can just imagine calling my wife. I'm like, I'm not coming home. I'm in Dallas, Texas. She's like, I thought you were going to Cincinnati. I'm like, yeah. So here's what I do. If you know me, okay, I'm a competitor. Okay, I compete. I said, where's there a flight I can get home? He says, Louisville. I go and I rent a car, and I'm hitting the highway, driving to Louisville, Kentucky, and I get there and catch a flight home. And so hence the used to be buddy pass. See? But no, I still love him. We're still friends, but I'm not trying a buddy pass again. But anyways, let's take a look about a little bit in my adventure. Of course, I'm there at the Creation Museum, and they're like, don't put a picture. That's the only picture I had of me. Okay, so next slide. But seriously, I went through there. Man, they got all these like dinosaurs that move. Okay, next one. And you're seeing, there's like an Adam, and he's like hanging out with the animals. And there's, Eve in there somewhere. Next one. And it was cool. They had like little things of the ark, and then like big things of the ark. And even this one here, they said was 1/100th of the actual size. So you could go to the Ark Museum and see a life-size ark. Then you had They talked about, feeding all the animals and cleaning up for all the animals. So definitely we could relate to that at our house. There's like 37 cat boxes, on the ark or something like that. And so then it continues. They had like life size of people. They were in the New Testament and Old Testament. They'd like move and like tell stories. I recommend it if you drive or get your own flight, but to go see it. Then it was cool. They had all this different artwork that talked about power. We were just talking about power. That God, in sending Jesus, and Jesus had all his power over the natural world, over the next one, he had power over ailments, he had power over creation, power over supernatural. It was so cool. And one section I really liked, well, throughout it you would see how it says like man's word lines up this way, and God's word lines up this way. And then a section that was really cool was about dinosaurs. Because people ask all the time, like, what's the deal with dinosaurs? And you go through, and they were talking about different, factual places they have excavated dinosaurs. And then this next one, there's like a little information about this dinosaur that, is totally legit. I mean, like they bought it, somebody donated, they bought it. And look at this thing. This next dinosaur is like, this one was found in Colorado. Now, literally, did anybody here know that they had found dinosaurs in the United States, in land? And I was like, really? In Colorado, there used to be dinosaurs like this that basically either the flood wiped them out or coming out of the flood, just, natural animals killing each other and stuff wiped them out. But go to Cincinnati, learn about all this stuff with creation and dinosaurs. It was so fun. I recommend it. Now, let's talk about two things to consider about God as our creator, okay? And I'm going to go through some things and then show you guys a cool video at the end that just is, it's so powerful. Two things about God as creator. First one, creation or evolution, okay? And I could take like a whole message on just this one point, but the gist of it is there's a couple different groups that have just dedicated their lives to this. One of them, we got a picture of their slide, is the Institute for Creation Research. You can Google them. You can read tons of stuff about how they have factually dug into creation account, evolution account. And I mean, honestly, they say you got to have faith to believe creation. No, I mean, you got to have faith to believe evolution. I mean, it is so absurd the way that people would think that randomness could happen and we could end up with the creation we have now. Because just a couple quick facts. Like in the ocean, you ever go in the ocean, you fall under the water, you taste all the salt. If the earth was billions of years old, the rate that the ocean is just slowly evaporating, if it was billions, you'd be like, you'd just be walking on salt. That's what the oceans would be like. If the earth is 6,000 years old, that's how the water is just pretty salty, but it hasn't all evaporated. 6,000 or like 40 billion. Okay, I think it's creation. Another one is these researchers go when they're doing digs and they find rocks, and these rocks have helium that releases out of it. You like crack on it, and you hear gas slowly coming out, or they sense it with their little sensors. They say, okay, this rock here, there is no way it's 40 billion years old because it's still releasing helium. They said if it was 40 billion, they would have no helium left. This rock, and they date it, they're like, that's more in the thousands. It's not in the billions. And then, anybody heard of Mount St. Helens? Heard of that? That is in America, the largest volcanic activity that we ever had. That when this thing exploded, and we got a cool picture of that. I mean, you imagine being there when this thing exploded in our country, it erupted. And the way stuff settled in it, they went and they started digging in it, and they looked at it, and they said, wait a second, that looks a lot like the other part of the world where people said, this took 40 billion years to line up. They said, no, this just happened. The way the ash, everything fell and compacted, they said, so when people look at these things and say, 40 billion years, it has to be, it took this long? No, that's not true. It's not true. So particularly our students, don't just believe the pressure people put on you and say, yeah, evolution, it's in a book. It's in a school. It's fact. No, it's not. No, it's not. My last picture for evolution creation, love Legos, okay? You can teach a lot through Legos. I got a picture of this Lego little house, okay, that was built or created, or I believe in it, like had a design to it. And when something, you look, both sides of it there's some type of design behind this, which makes me believe there was a designer. That somebody built this and put this together. I would believe that's similar to God creating or designing all of creation. Now, there are two of them, so the second one's in this box, and it's all in pieces. So the other option is that you would take this and shake it all up and kind of take, I guess, like the evolution idea of things, and say it just kind of like, it will find its way into making itself into this house. And the reality is, after shaking and hoping and stuff morphing, it's still just a bunch of pieces. This doesn't become this by randomness. This is designed by a designer. Don't miss that. All right, that's creation versus evolution. Now, the second thing I want you to think about, well, if it's such a big creation, can he really be a close God? That if God created all this stuff and this whole solar system and all the things in the ocean and all the animals and human beings and the intricacies, could he really be a close God? Well, God, he what I call it, he flexes his muscles through creation. You'll see in your takeaway card, there's all kind of stuff in the book of Job. And there's 4 chapters I want to encourage you to read this week in Job that is just phenomenal as God talks to Job about his creation. And he literally just kind of like flexes for Job and says, now look, you're having a hard time believing that I'm really that big and I'm really this close? He says, kind of take a listen. Let me give you a couple of these. Job 38 says, then the Lord spoke to Job out of the storm. He said, who is it that obscures my plans with words without knowledge? So literally, he's saying to us, look, you think you got me figured out? You think you have knowledge? You think you have wisdom? He said, listen to me and see what I have made. Verse 4 says, where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Honestly, God gets a little sassy here. He says, surely you know. Surely you got it figured out. Who stretched a measuring line across it, or what was its footing set, or who laid its cornerstone while the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy? Surely you've got it all figured out, right? Because you're kind of acting like God. He says, no, I'm God. I made it. He continues, says, who shut up the sea behind doors when it burst forth from the womb, when I made the clouds its garment, wrapped it in thick darkness, when I fixed limits for it and set its doors and bars in place, when I said, hey, this far you can come, but no, actually, I'm in charge of you waves. You proud waves, this is where you're going to halt until I tell you you can move. God is the one who affects all that. Love this. It says, have you journeyed to the springs of the sea or walked in the recesses of the deep? Have the gates of death been shown to you? Have you seen the gates of the deepest darkness? Have you comprehended the vast expanses of the earth? Tell me if you know this. Tell me if you got it figured out, Job. Tell me, Matt. God's like, no, my creation speaks for me. One more here, he says, look it up in the sky. And if you get out there in a clear night and look, and you see Orion and the Big Dipper and all that, and God says, Job, hey, take a look in the sky. Can you bind the chains of the Pleiades? Can you loosen Orion's belt? Can you bring forth the constellations in their seasons, or lead out the bear with its cubs? Do you know the laws of the heavens? Can you set up God's dominion of the earth? He said, man, just take a look up there, or down there, or look in there. I made all this. I got it. I did that. So flip it on down, that God, I want you to get this. God didn't just create our universe. Okay, God entered into it. God didn't say, okay, I'm going to make you, but you're really just like sticky, dirty, smelly. No, God created and came into our universe. I love that. So I want you to think about this. God uses creation as this big canvas that he paints for you every day. And his goal in doing this, in painting all this creation, is he wants you to believe in him. Whether for the first time or just kind of renew it and say, God, I believe in you as the creator who is close to me. I believe. Check out this video. I think sometimes the best way to find God is just to look in creation. I want you to remember on your journey, you'll never face anything that's so big that God is not bigger than. nothing that seems so insurmountable, I can't get past this, that God can't help you get past. That God wants you to look in creation and see that He is the creator, and He is so big, and yet He's so close. And for our last song, as we sing about this concept of an altar, I love going into creation sometimes and just going and sitting and just listening. And just looking for God in creation and saying, literally, God, in this moment, this is my altar. This is the place I sit, or I bow, or I walk. I look and say, God, just fill me with the power I need that only you can give. Is that bottom line about God being our creator and so big, yet so close? I want you to take that with you on your journey. And it's easy to remember right now, and you watch a video and you hear a message, but when the time comes, say, I really don't know. I'm in college, and they're telling me he's not the creator. No, it's not evolution. It is creation by God, our creator.